Yet here we are with you talking while I'm talking. As discussed, the test is so short and so fast, we're going to do some semester exam study guide questions first. We're on problem 67. Have out your number strips. That is noise. Have out your number strips. It's not that though. Hopefully you're hoping to get, I know on test days you normally, I'm asking to get a 5. I make no promises today. So you're hoping to get as many points as possible. We're going to go over now. And then if your group can keep it together and not get on my last nerve, I might let you go to the 5 if you're not already. We'll see. I do. Okay, I think I'm going to change my name. No, you're good.
They were just insecure.
Okay. Let's see. 3, you're the quietest. Get a point. Okay. Treya, you said my name. I assumed you were going to tell me an answer, which is why I told you to hold on. You are, aren't you? Because you're ready to roll. Okay. I think we're ready now. I pray. Go ahead, ma'am. No, that's what Travis said. It's C. 2, get a point. It's C. There is one bad answer on the screen. What is the bad answer? 4 gets the point. A is the bad answer because of that positive number in front. If it was a positive number in front, our problem would look like this. No, we had one that was going down. So it had to be B, C, or D. We're wanting to know 6 lose a point. Wanting to know where those 2 zeros are. So the easiest way to handle that would be to do what? How can we figure out where the 2 zeros are? Graph it. So you get another point. The easiest thing to do would be to graph it. That's the way I would handle it. If you didn't want to graph it, 1 lose a point. You could factor. If you take out a negative x on part C, you would be left with x minus 4. To find the zeros, you set it equal to 0. So I would have negative x equals 0, so I end up getting x equals 0. I would have x minus 4 equals 0, so I end up getting x equals 4. And that's one way you could have solved. I should have got negative 4. Oh, that should be a positive. I can do math today. Whew. Goodness gracious. But Jessica is right. The easiest thing to do is just to graph and then compare the graphs to the one we're given and see which of these equations gives you the right graph. She is correct. Okay, 68. We don't need to graph anything because we're smart. We have a brain. It says f of x equals negative 2x squared plus x, and that opens blank and has a blank value. It opens down, you can have a point. It opens down because of that negative in front. And if our parabola opens down, this should be a max. Our vertex is a max. So it is A. Travis can also have a point because he realized since it was a negative in front, automatically it had to be down. So it was either A or B. You just hadn't thought through the min or max part yet. Okay, 69. We need to know if our function 4x squared minus 16x plus 6, if it has a max or a min, and we need to find out where that max min happens. It is a min, and where does it happen? Yes, ma'am. You get your point. Okay, we knew since it's a positive 4 in front, that it was a parabola that opened like this, so our vertex was a min. So it wasn't C or D to begin with. She was right about that. I don't know how she came up with a negative 10. I'm not sure if she's a really good guesser or if she graphed it in her calculator. If you were being super fancy, you could have done the formula for axis symmetry, negative b over 2a, and then plugged that in, but hopefully you're not that fancy. Yes, dear? It just happened to work out that way that time. Okay. That is curious coincidence. Okay, let's go on to number 70. Number 70 gives us a quadratic function, and it says it has no zeros, exactly 1 0, exactly 2 zeros, more than 2 zeros. What is the answer? 3 gets the point. The answer is B, exactly 1 0. There is one absolutely terrible answer on the screen. Terrible. Yes, I heard Jessica and Landon say it, so they can have the point. More than 2 is a problem. If we were x squared, we either have 0, 1, or 2 roots. No more. Now, we could have solved it. We could have set our function equal to 0, taken the square root of both sides, and we would have had x equals plus or minus 0. But wait, is there a negative 0?
No.
0 doesn't have a charge, so that's how we have exactly one answer of 0. And, you know, again, you still could have graphed it and checked with your graphing calculator. How many times does it cross the x-axis? It would cross exactly once at the origin. Okay, 71. Solve x squared equals 4x by graphing. If exact roots cannot be found, state the consecutive integers between which the roots are located. He says C, and he is incorrect. It is D, ma'am. You get the point. Okay, it says by graphing. So I had x squared equals 4x. I can't graph that in my calculator. What do I need to do in order to put this in my calculator? Check the x squared. Oh, subtract. Set everybody equal to 0. I'm going to subtract the 4x, but yes. Now I can graph it. He's right, I could have gone the other way, but I'd rather go this way. Okay, it said solve by graphing, so I could graph here. But if we're being honest, on the semester exam, it's multiple choice. I have a zip grade thing, I grade it with my phone, boom, I know your score. I'm going to actually look through your work. Should you have work because this is math class and we haven't been geniuses and doing it all in our head this whole semester? Yes. Do I look through Jemiah's work and make sure she actually solved by graphing because it said solve by graphing? No. So if instead she wanted to solve this one by factoring, it would not be a problem with me. What's the GCF? It has a GCF. So you get your point. So it'd be left with x minus 4 equals 0. So we set each of these equal to 0. We'd have x equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. So x equals 4. Hey, lo and behold, our answers were 0 and 4. Could you figure it out graphing? Yes. Could you figure it out factoring? Yes. So many ways to do so many things. Okay, these have been pretty easy today. We're moving on to our first challenging quadratic in my mind, and it is 72. And the only reason it's challenging is it looks different than the form we've been seeing in it. 72 says, which quadratic equation has roots of -2 and 1/5? I heard answers, but I don't know what they were. B is correct. How'd you figure it out, ma'am? That would work. I hadn't even thought to do that today. I have an extra point for that. That's not even how I was going to explain it. An extra point for that. You could solve with the quadratic formula. You could solve by completing the square. You could graph it. Graph it would probably be the easiest way. Why not graph all the answer choices and then see which of these crosses at -2 and 1/5? But I did it by factoring. I don't know. I was on a factoring kick, I guess. I know some of you like solid divide bottoms up. I'm a guess and check person. Do what you need to do. So I know it's 5 and 1. I know they need to multiply to -2. So I'm thinking maybe put a -1 here, a +2 here. 5x squared plus 10x minus x. Yep, that's correct. I know I've guessed correctly because I pulled it out in my head. If I set each of these equal to 0, I get x equals 1/5 for the first. X equals -2 for the second. Hey, that's what the problem said to begin with. So when I factored b, I ended up getting those two zeros, those two roots. Okay, I'm not trying to confuse you here at the end of the semester. I'm just trying to give you all the options in life. You're like, Miss Compton, how did you guess it so quickly? That was a fast guess. It's because I'm smart. They told me what my answer was going to be. They told me one of my answers was -2. I knew x plus 2, if I set that equal to 0, I would get -2. They told me one of my answers was 1/5. I knew if I took 5x plus 1 and set it equal to 0, I would get -1/5. So I knew my two factors because I knew my two roots. Have we done it like that before? No. If you understood that, is that smart? Yes. Do you have to do it that way? No. Easy man's way would just be graph it, see where it crosses. Only one of them is going to cross at those exact two roots. Okay, 73. 73. It is not B. No, and now we've down to 2, so goodness.
C.
Well, yeah, it is C. Every group can have a point, so I feel sorry for you, but yeah, it's C. Now again, you could graph it and see if it crosses at 7 and -2/3, or quadratic formula, because we need a square. We have so many tools. I know since one of the answers is 7, so if I'm factoring 3x squared minus 19x minus 14 equal to 0, I know I'm going to have a 3x and an x in order to get that 3x squared. They told me one of the answers was +7, so I know one of the factors is x minus 7. They told me one of the answers was -2/3, so I know this one's +2 because when I solve it, I'm going to end up getting -2/3. What I mean is, if I set each of these equal to 0, I get x equals 7. Bless you. X equals -2/3. So I can check it with factoring. Not a bad idea. If you hate factoring and that's just never been your forte, again, graphing should always work. I don't care how you get the answer on the semester exam. If it says solve by factoring, again, I'm not checking your work. So if you solve by graphing, that's fine. I will never know. I've already graded you on the test as to whether or not you did it correctly. Semester exam is just you did it. You didn't necessarily have to use the method suggested. The next one is what? No. It's D. You want to get a point. If we move it all to one side. Did you say D or B?
I said D the first time.
I don't know. I think you changed it to D.
She said D the first.
I don't know what you were. I don't know.
Fine.
Okay.
We're at 5. I'm not worried.
Okay, so we moved everything to one side. You could graph this and see where it crosses the x-axis. Or you could factor. I know that -6, not -6, yeah, -6 plus 3 gives me -3. -6 times 3 gives me -18, so he's correct. If I set each of these equal to 0, I get x equals 6. And x equals -3. Okay, I'll leave it on that for a second. And then I thought of something I should have said a couple problems back. I need to say it. That way you get the full experience everyone else did. Okay, words, English. I don't know how you solve these things. You could have just plugged in the answer choices. For instance, let's go back to one of the ones before this. Okay, let's go back to. Where are you? Go back to 71. Okay, on 71. Why can't I just plug in 0? DJ, did you say something?
I said what's up, answers to the exam.
No. Exam? No. Study ideas. I could have plugged in 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. I could have plugged in the answer choices and figured out problems like 71. And I bet there are a lot that I could just figure out by plugging in the answer choices. Thank you, God, for multiple choice tests. Okay, 69. When we were talking about min, and I said I would do it in my calculator, what buttons do I press in my calculator to figure out a min? I press second, then calculate, and then what button? Yes. Okay, so we're gonna. You already have 5 points. You shouldn't tell me that. So 4 go getting another point. That's how I would do it. So when last period said they do trace. Trace is gonna work out for you since it's multiple choice. So you can like, I get negative 9.999, and you're like, oh, okay, that's closest to negative 10. I go with it. I mean, trace might work for you now, but you know I like second calculate. Okay, we are not gonna do any further than that today because you know you. Well, that, but I was going to say, if you looked at 75, 76, and 77, it's your favorites of complex numbers. If I were you, I'd be like table 5 and look ahead at those complex number ones. You know they've never quite been your forte. I don't know why. Curious and curiouser. So we're going to call it a day simply because we're to the complex number problems. As a reminder,